Good morning and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's coffee chat with Starboard featuring IBM Maximo Scheduler. My name is Alex Duggan. Just a few quick housekeeping notes. All audience members will be in listen-only mode, but we welcome and we encourage your questions through the chat window. We'll follow up with a copy of the recorded presentation and slides after today's session. And now let's begin. Leading today's session is Amy Tatum, Vice President of Starboard Consulting. Amy has over 25 years of experience as an engineer and technology consultant and has managed the implementation of countless Maximo projects. Amy is going to be joined today by Lani Trotter from Starboard Consulting, and we're looking forward to a great discussion on Maximo Scheduler. Amy, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. It's good to be here again and be with everybody. So again, I'm Amy Tatum. I'm a vice president with Starboard. Starboard is an implementation firm, IBM business partner of Maximo. Most of us with the company have been working with Maximo for at least 10 years, many of us over 20. So we've got a really experienced team of people that have been working together for a long, long time and are experts in all aspects of Maximo implementations, assessments, upgrades, implementations, training, etc. And with me today is Lani Trotter. Lani is one of our functional leads on the Maximo team and works very closely with our clients, defining requirements, coming up with great solutions and designs to solve their Maximo needs, and then delivering training and support beyond that. So we're both excited to be with you here today. Before we jump into the conversation, we wanted to do a quick poll. So Alex, if you want to take care of that for us.
Great, thank you, Amy. So we would just love to hear from you. What version of Scheduler are you using? Are you using Scheduler? We just love a little bit more before we get started to see where everybody's at. Are you currently using Maximo Scheduler within your organization? Are you planning to implement Scheduler? Just helps us tailor the conversation. Looks like a little bit of mixed.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give you one more minute. All right, great. So most are not currently using, but looks like there's a lot of people that either are or looking to implement. Thank you so much. We appreciate your feedback.
All right, thanks, Alex. So Lani, welcome. Good to see you again today. I know it's been quite a while since we've been able to travel together, so it's always nice to see your smiling face.
Thank you, Amy. Same here.
I know we've both worked with Scheduler a lot, and you've done a lot of customized training for our clients on their Scheduler tools. So if you had to summarize Scheduler up in just a couple of sentences, what would you say? What's your elevator pitch for this tool?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is that Maximo Scheduler and the tools that come with it have come a long way. You know, Scheduler was born back in 2009 with version 7.1. And, you know, as of 2017, we are at a 7.6.7 version level, and there have been, you know, massive overhauls and improvements in this tool and for the Maximo user, even introducing additional applications that take advantage of, you know, the scheduling logic. So I would say when I look at Scheduler and I kind of, you know, talk about what it is in my toolbox that it performs, is that it's really a powerful way of looking at work order tracking. It brings all of the things about work orders that you know and love and that you use work order tracking for, and brings it into a view that you can filter, sort, write your own queries about, and visualize the backlog of work, the resources that you have available to do the work, and then manage that right there in one application, the graphical scheduling application. If you have already planned your work, then the work is there, and now you just need to put it on the calendar and decide who is going to perform it, and it can be done all in that window. So that's what I call it, just a powerful way of looking at work order tracking.
Okay. Well, that's a great description, and I know with Scheduler, especially now in the later releases, there's a lot of updates you can do to the work orders from right there in the scheduling window. So it really does give you a lot of good update capabilities, as well as just the typical scheduling function that you would expect in that kind of a tool. So there's just a lot going on there, a lot of great capabilities. I'm sure you see Scheduler used across a lot of different planning scenarios. So yeah, there's different schedules, whether they're short-term, long-term maintenance outages, things like that. What do you see most often? What are some of the common use cases or problems that are being solved by the scheduling tool?
Yeah, so that is one of the cool things about Scheduler is that you can create many, many different schedules that actually perfectly depict and help you focus on what you're trying to organize or lay out. So some of the examples that we might have is, in a plant situation, you have your electrical crew and you have electrical work that needs to be done. So you want to write your schedule for your electrical folks and looking ahead, say 2 weeks, and making sure that, work is distributed properly among the resources that you have. And the same for a mechanical crew and mechanical work. So you can actually just focus in on, how am I going to use my folks and what's my backlog look like in these focused areas. We have a client that uses Scheduler for longer term kinds of planning. They have entire seasons of work that have to be done based on like winter season, winter maintenance. And it's large pieces of equipment and locations that have to be maintained and overhauled during that season. And so Scheduler is a perfect way to see that work package with the parent project of the overhaul for the season, and then each of the crafts or the focuses of each of the breakdown, work breakdown structure in the child work orders along the schedule. They can see when one's gonna end, and the next one can pick up and start. So those are just some examples.
Okay, that's great. So I know I've heard this, and you've heard this too. Scheduler is hard to use. It doesn't work well. It's difficult. Things like that. What causes that? What is making people think that this isn't a great tool?
Well, some people may refer to Scheduler as a beast. I like to call it my teddy bear, and the reason I say that is that while it is extremely powerful, it is also very comforting. So there is the fact that Maximo is looking at work order data that you already have created. So the foundation of what you already have is what Scheduler builds on. But it is dependent. It needs to know your desires, right? It needs to know what you need, what you want to do.
Sure.
So in this slide, you see that duration equals 0 and a big red line through it. So 0 durations are a poor way of performing scheduling. So this is something I see across the board when folks first start scheduling. We're not paying attention that much to the duration on work orders many times, but Scheduler needs to know what that is. Otherwise, you end up with just a dot on a date. One little dot that says, okay, you're going to do this work, but it's not giving you that rich look at, well, how long is it going to take me? And when can it be done so I can start other things? So the durations and the way that you plan your work, the duration of the labor then needs to align. Your labor duration and your work order duration need to align so that the way that the Gantt chart in any good Gantt chart can actually depict that work and draw that picture out for you over the weeks and days and weeks that it might take. So having said that, I think that's a lot of the trip ups that clients have, is that they may or may not know how much background setup they need to do to get started, and they end up perhaps being frustrated and not sure how Maximo is interpreting their data. It does make some assumptions. If you put something in, it's going to has to assume that it's a one-day job if you just don't put a duration.
Okay, yeah, it's a program, and it's programmed to do certain things based on certain inputs. And if those inputs aren't there, I can see where that would create a lot of challenges. So obviously, having all of those supporting records in place is key. That tells me I can't just install Scheduler and start using it the next day. I need to go back and take a look at my job plans and my labor and calendars and resources and all of those kinds of things. And that's a big lift, I think, for a lot of clients if they don't have strong planning programs in place where they've got those job plans and stuff, that definitely is a setup piece that has to be managed initially. I think for me personally, being more on the technical side of things, historically, some of the early versions of Scheduler were very dependent on the Java applets, and I can remember getting a lot of errors. My Java version wasn't up to date and things like that. So with the later releases of Scheduler, they've moved away from that, so those applets aren't needed, and that took a lot of the technical hurdles out of the way in doing that. Would you agree? Any other things along those lines that you know of?
Completely agree. Not having that Java dependency or that runtime environment version, dependency across workstations and things is very much bigger, a big relief, and it opened the door for other user interface enhancements that that have been entered. So things like being able to drag and drop more effectively. It really enhanced this new platform has it allowed us to do that a lot smoother, and also the color coding and things like that was enhanced. And I have a sneak preview on some of the newer things that are coming in, things like inline editing, which is something that a lot of folks have been looking for. The ability to edit things on the schedule inline, that's coming in on one of the roadmap items. So that's another platform enhancing a feature.
Awesome. And speaking of roadmap items, I know you sit in on a lot of the business partner developer team meetings that IBM hosts, and so there's always a lot of good information that comes out of those. As you said, Scheduler's been around since 2009, so it's certainly matured dramatically over the last 10 years, and with each new release, there's all kinds of new features. Some of them are well known, some of them are a little bit less documented. And so I know you've stumbled across those, and working with our IBM partners on the sales team and all, we've kind of found some little hidden gems. So what are some of those little tidbits or hidden gems that you would say that a lot of people don't know? They don't realize that Scheduler can do these things, but they're just fun to have and use.
Well, it is, and a lot of thought has gone into this. So one of the biggest surprises that I had through some of the champions training and some of the intense sessions that I've had with IBM development teams and things is that the three applications, graphical scheduler, graphical assignment, and graphical crew management, they are the only applications in the Maximo suite that I'll actually have a right-click methodology. So the ability to right-click on something and perform an action. We're used to select action or the more actions or common actions in Maximo, and this is a right-click, and that's just not really the same in the other application.
True.
And the menus that are available, you can perform many actions, say on a work order, from just using a right-click. And also, in addition to that, there are some actual alt-click menu items. So I was just amazed at the number of things that you can do with just the keyboard and mouse in Scheduler and graphical assignment. So, and it just makes it this suite very unique to the other Maximo applications. Other things would be the ability to update numerous work orders using Scheduler, and having the ability to perform the updates and see how the effect of those updates is going to look on the schedule, and then not have to commit them. So the ability to kind of look and see what if scenarios, set up scenarios. Other things are just a PM forecast. The ability to visualize your PM forecast in a schedule is very, very handy for folks that are, looking at maybe having to update a lot of dates because of an outage might be coming up and they need to do a massive new dates for some PMs, things of that nature. And so that has been a very good use of that. And of course, the coolest thing is that, well, two more things. One, the ability to see your resources and their availability in a graphical format. That is something within Maximo that you cannot bring together in any other application. You know, I've got 4 mechanics, they work 40 hours a week. I've got 160 hours to see how much, you know, how much of my bucket is filled for this week. And it's just nothing more powerful than to be able to see if I'm how I'm using my resources. And then I'd say the last thing is many people who do scheduling need to be able to print their schedules. Printing
Yes.
printing still is so important in this world, and the ability to download a schedule to Excel and print it and post it or pass it out, and you know, whatever you need to do, it's, you know, using the download feature is one of those hidden gems as well.
Okay, great. And then looking ahead, we know IBM has been making a lot of investment in the product. I know a lot of the community digests that I get on a regular basis have got a lot about Scheduler in them, and it's covered in a lot of the roadmap topics. So what are some of the things in your development meetings that you know are coming down the pipe here that will be released in one of the next scheduled fixes?
Yes, as a matter of fact, this year there are some pretty major enhancements for coming up very soon. They're hoping July, a new scheduler release.
Okay.
In graphical assignment, they have introduced a heat map for the to see where the work is concentrated in on a calendar basis, and also looking at your resources in a calendar view. Instead of just sort of in a particular work order view. So the calendar view for resource availability, as well as that inline editing I mentioned in the user interface.
Right.
We didn't talk a lot about the optimization pieces within Scheduler, but those of you who know about Scheduler know that there is an optional optimization engine that you can install and utilize on top of Scheduler that helps you with actually almost automatically assigning and scheduling work based on, you know, the logic that is in the engine, and based on the information that you have. So then you take, you know, the optimization does its first pass, and then you can make your adjustments. So there's going to be some newer, more performance enhancements for the optimization coming. And I think a brand new engine, and a scalable engine for it as well, for this coming up Q3.
Awesome.
And I might mention, Amy, we didn't talk about Scheduler Plus, but
I was going to ask you about that one.
yeah, so Scheduler itself is an add-on product. So you
Right.
get it licensed, and then add it into Maximo. It kind of just bolts on. And Scheduler Plus is the same way. It includes all of the scheduler functionalities, but then it has some more features, and its design, which many clients need to be able to do very large projects, long in duration, and you know, 10 to 50,000 work orders involved. And this Scheduler Plus allows you to do that. You know, just has the horsepower behind it to be able to handle that much. Plus, allows you to do your critical path calculation and visualization of your critical path. Also allows for customer appointments. If you need to schedule customer appointments along that way, appointment book is included. So it's just a little bit of a more robust set of functionality.
Okay. Lots of good things going on there. I'm going to flip over here to our chat window and see if anybody's got any questions. Definitely put those in the chat window, and we'll see what else we can come up with. Will be question here about the differences between Scheduler and Scheduler Plus, and I think you've already talked about those a little bit, but are there any others that you want to mention while I look for other things here in the chat?
Well, just to know that Scheduler Plus includes everything that Scheduler has and more, and the ability to I guess scale your typical 2-week, 4-week schedule of a maintenance crew or a utility crew or something into a larger set of work packages that might include contractors. It might include 6 months worth of construction, and to be able to handle that and visualize that, and the dependencies become a lot clearer.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier durations and how important durations are to just scheduler even working. What's your definition of that is one of the questions. Is how do we define a duration? Is that just start to finish, or
It's
what?
a great question. It's a great question. So each work order should be considered in terms of how long it should take, or that you expect it to take from start to finish. And the duration, there's an actual duration field on the work order that helps scheduler know how to depict that work order on a Gantt chart. So when you put a scheduled start of today and 40 hours, then scheduler is going to draw that bar on today's date in a week's time, because it's looking also underneath the covers and saying you have a calendar and you've got crews that work 40 hours a week, then this must represent a week's worth of work. So know that all the underlying factors, Maximo does do those calculations in order to make the visual display correct.
Okay. Here's a question. It's kind of funny. Scheduler needs extensive training, which you and I have both done some of that training, because it's not a straightforward tool, and part of that is just understanding all of that, logic and what's going on under the covers.
Yes.
So I don't know that we can answer the question so much about whether there's a plan to make it more user-friendly, but I definitely think we can answer the question about is there training available to help people understand more about how it works and how to utilize it.
There is, and I would say that training, to look at scheduler training, I would visualize it like an onion.
Okay.
There's going to be layers. So when you're right, trying to understand all the pieces and parts the scheduler has and how it interacts with your work order data, that's your first layer of your onion. So to get that, there are training resources on IBM Skills Gateway website. There's actually a brand new course out there. It's called Maximo Scheduler 7.6. It's brand new, and it's a self-paced. Simulations are included in the course, and I would highly recommend someone who maybe hasn't had their hands on it to go or even that has but wonders, like, what is the best practice? A lot of folks click around and don't really know where they're going or what the effects of what they're doing are, and this course should lead you through that. Okay. And then I would say the next 2 or 3 layers would be, develop some use cases. Think what are you trying to accomplish with schedule? Try the ability to write those out, and then actually, have a consulting firm like us or people who are experienced with scheduler to come in and customize that training to those use cases. We have found that to be the most effective training method, because it can be like all the rest of Maximo. Yeah. It can be used in so many different ways. Yeah. And everybody does the same thing differently. There is no best way to schedule. I mean, there are some best practices, but for you, it has to work. So I do think that customized training is probably, to get a scheduling program off the ground, that would probably be the best bet.
Okay. Now, you mentioned with the Skills Gateway, there's some hands-on exercises. Are there any demo environments available for scheduler? I know as a business partner, we have access to the Blue demos. Are there others out there?
If there are any demos that are just open, like a Maximo with scheduler in it, that I know of, except for Blue Demos.
Yeah, and Blue Demos is a great resource that I know we use.
It is, and you can reserve it and have it available for you pretty quickly. Like within a few minutes, you'll get you can reserve it and have it up and running and log in. So that's a great way to learn if you don't have it installed in your environment yet, or if you want to test something, that's different.
Okay. Here's another question. Can scheduler integrate with asset availability schedules as well as your work schedules?
Oh, yes. I forgot to mention that. I'm so sorry. So part of the foundational data that Maximo looks at when it is performing a schedule visualization is it's going to look at that asset schedule or that location schedule. So if you have got an availability set up on the asset or location, then it's going to be able to depict that asset as being available for that work, or location available for that work or not. So
Okay.
just like resource availability, it can look at asset and location availability.
Sure. All right. To answer the demo question, I see that Lori Pilgrim with IBM has posted a link in our chat window. So
Nice.
we've got that there for those of you that are on the line that want to maybe go out and poke around a little bit. There's also been a couple of more technical questions around the optimizer and getting that set up, and WebSphere clusters and things like that, which we're not going to try to tackle in the remaining couple of minutes that we have. But for those of you that have those questions, feel free to follow up with us, and we'll be happy to have a more detailed conversation offline about that. Those are usually more specific types of questions, so we'll deal with those later.
And Amy, I might interject too. I just realized that I should have mentioned the YouTube channels. So if you, anywhere on YouTube, if you were to search for Maximo Scheduler, I'm positive you're going to find folks who have recorded scheduler demos out there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And there's a lot of different blogs and forums, and the IBM communities have a lot of resources available to them as well. So definitely some really good information out there. I think back to when I first started working with Maximo, there wasn't a scheduler product, but we had the old assignment manager, and had one question in here, I can't find it now, about just kind of the differences between assignment manager and scheduler. And I'm not even sure how to start that comparison.
Well, I mean, back to my other analogy is that, you know, scheduler and graphical assignment is a powerful look at assigning. Assignment manager does a great job of trying to look at your backlog in one view and show your resources in the other view. And I think graphical assignment and graphical scheduler take that to another whole level visually. You know, in assignment manager, you get lists of work orders, lists of people. In scheduler and graphical assignment, you get the graphical view, you know, the layout view, the buckets of time, and the buckets at the time that's been used, and then the calendar and the weeks that are filled and the weeks are not filled, and the weeks that folks are not available, vacation time and things like that. So I think it's just a function of more powerful and then more visual.
Yeah, I would say that. And I like the color coding, you know, the things that immediately turn colors if they're not, you know, people are overloaded, or you're breaking dependencies and that kind of stuff. I think all of that is really nice as well. So
absolutely.
Unfortunately, we are about out of time here. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up and say thank you to everyone that joined. We will continue doing these sessions every couple of weeks. So our next one is scheduled 2 weeks from today. And on that one, we'll have Kim Woodbury from IBM as our a guest to do, or wait, no, I think that's what's 2 weeks from today, but this says the Bem Modeling with Maximo. Oh, that's June 24th. I can't even read my own slides. So yeah, so roadmap in 2 weeks, and Bem Modeling on June 24th. And that one is not your traditional look at BEM. It's a little different approach. So we're excited to have another guest speaker partner that we work with quite a bit that does some 3D modeling of existing infrastructure. So where BEM is more focused on construction and design, this is kind of the after the fact as-builting piece of things. So Alex, you want to jump in and wrap things up for us?
Yes, Amy, Lani, thank you so much. You covered a lot of information about schedulers, some really fantastic tips. I love the right-click tip. Thank you so much. So if we weren't able to get to your question during the chat, we are happy to schedule a time that we can cover it after the session. So please let us know if you have any questions. Go ahead and type them in or email them to Amy Morris. We've also sent you a link. I hope you'll join us for our upcoming chats or visit our Starboard website. There's a number of recorded webinars and upcoming demos that you might be interested in. Thank you all for joining us today. Amy, Lani, thank you so much. Great presentation.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great afternoon.